What's going on, man? It's Pop Culture Plug, and today we're back with some sports content. We're going to be talking about a overrated quarterback, in my estimation, Aaron Rodgers. Now, I'm not going to get into most overrated of all time. I don't necessarily think that, but I think we get a bit hyperbolic with Aaron. He throws a nice ball. Stylistically, it looks better than almost anyone ever. Very tight. One of the more accurate quarterbacks of all time. But I think that has actually been something that hurt him in the playoffs, not willing to throw that ball in those tight windows and take those risks necessary to achieve at the highest level in terms of winning. Now, my problem with Aaron is when we put him in a GOAT conversation, it's not that he is not a top 10 quarterback of all time, but I believe he is closer to 10 than he is to 1. Now, whether it is fair or not, the measurement that we have to look at quarterbacks by, given the amount of popularity and money that they get and fame, they have been made into the most important position in all of sports. So you have to be measured by how much you win. So for someone with one Super Bowl to be put in a conversation with people like Joe Montana, Tom Brady, Pat Mahomes, I don't see it. Somebody that's been very quickly washed over and forgotten about, it seems, who I think he is more comparable to, is Drew Brees. Drew Brees, to me, is one of the more underrated quarterbacks that is out there, with people often having him somewhere in the 9-10 range, even outside of their top 10 all time, which to me is crazy. I think because of Rodgers having 4 MVPs, that's where they put him next to somebody like a Peyton Manning. Even though Peyton Manning has 1 more MVP and 1 more Super Bowl, albeit he was on his last legs there in Denver at the end, but it still counts, right? So if we're going to comp Aaron Rodgers to Peyton Manning, keep in mind the guy that I brought up earlier, who we're going to get a little more in-depth about right now. Drew Brees beat Peyton Manning head-to-head in a Super Bowl. Now, if we're looking at Aaron Rodgers and Drew Brees head-to-head, the elephant in the room is the fact that Rodgers has 4 MVPs. That is something that you cannot take from him, whether we think all of them are necessarily warranted or not. The facts are the facts, the stats are the stats. He has that under his belt. But if we just look at their regular season numbers head-to-head, being him and Drew Brees, Brees has 80,358 career passing yards to Rodgers' 66,274. Drew Brees has 571 touchdowns passing. Aaron Rodgers has 527. And Brees' completion rate is 67.7% to Rodgers' 65.1%. They have a similar win-loss ratio in the playoffs, and they both have the same amount of Super Bowls. Being that in the era that they played in, the AFC was the real gauntlet with Peyton Manning and Tom Brady. And sure, they had each other, but the NFC was not as stacked at that time. And Drew Brees, in the same amount of time, is far more prolific in terms of yards and things like that. Rodgers has the accolades in the regular season as far as hardware, but they perform the same. They have the same amount of success in the playoffs with the 1 Super Bowl, with Rodgers having a much better infrastructure around him, playing with all-time defensive talents like Charles Woodson and Clay Matthews, playing in a weak division at the time with Detroit going 0-16 at one point, and the Bears struggling offensively to get with the 21st century, the Vikings being up and down. Drew Brees had far less help and still managed to make the playoffs and win 1 Super Bowl against a lot of people's consensus top 3 quarterback of all time in Peyton Manning. Let's just look at other quarterbacks in his era that nobody ever compares him to. They think he's far superior to, but actually have won more, like somebody like Ben Roethlisberger or even Eli Manning, who both have 2 Super Bowls to Aaron's 1, Eli beating Tom Brady in the playoffs twice. So when we look at it, is Aaron Rodgers an all-time talent? Absolutely. I will never take that from him. But he is not a Michael Jordan-esque sort of player. To me, he's analogous to someone like a Kevin Durant. Not a very good leader, incredibly skilled, kind of aloof, kind of standoffish, doesn't want to be one of the boys, not part of the crowd, will move around if need be, and be open about his frustrations, not always being a good locker room guy. So that's more kind of where he stands with me. Both all-time talents, but not transcendent in terms of being leaders and motivators of men. Now, keep in mind, the person that I'm comparing Aaron to in his own sport, at his own position, Drew Brees, is also a significantly smaller guy without the same athletic gifts in terms of mobility, and had a devastating knee injury early in his career when he was with the Chargers. Still overcoming all of that to be more prolific in the regular season in terms of stats, just coming in a bit earlier and having to combat someone like a Peyton Manning and Tom Brady, where Rodgers was a bit later and had more of an open, free reign on that. But he overcame a lot, and I just think Brees is being slept on, and I think that we speak a little too highly of Aaron. I think they're much closer than people actually rate them. But what do you think? Am I too high on Brees? Am I being unfair with Aaron Rodgers? Where am I wrong? Where am I right? Let me know in the comments. Make sure y'all like, comment, and subscribe. I'm trying to grow this channel. We talk about all types of things: sports, movies, music, you name it. You let me know. We'll talk about it. But yeah, until next time, it's Pop Culture Plug. Peace.